All right, hey, welcome to another live episode of geekoutdoors.com. Let me make sure this is actually live right now. It should be, yes. Streaming health is on. So let me quickly get this set up and we will get started. All right, so there we go. Let me make sure the volume's there.
Should be, yes.
All right, perfect. So today we're going to talk about a few things, as always. It's going to be an interesting episode, I would say. Let's go ahead and put that on top. So the two things we're going to talk about today are, first, how YouTubers who are successful means that they are actually in poverty. So that's effectively what the article is saying, which I'll be talking about. And then after that, we're going to be talking about Kali Linux in the Microsoft Windows Store. Yes, pretty controversial right there. So let's go ahead and get started with the very first news article. And let me check and make sure. Yep, it's recording. Okay, so this article came out on Bloomberg just recently, and it talked about how success on YouTube still means a life of poverty. And you could say that this is something that will definitely ruffle the feathers of content creators who are actually on YouTube. But at the same time, there is some truth to what they are talking about. So let's go ahead and look at the article real quick. So it starts out right away with saying, do your children dream of YouTube stardom? Do them a favor, crush that ambition now. And so obviously the writer of this, they didn't make a mistake by doing that. That is really a great headline, and it will cause emotions to stir up right away just by saying that. But what they're referring to here is a research done by a German company. And what they're making it is that what they're saying from the research is that it's pretty much difficult or almost impossible for a lot of people to actually make it on YouTube. So what they're saying it here is 96.5% of all people trying to become YouTubers won't make enough money off advertising to crack the US poverty line. Okay, this is research done by Matthias Bartel. And what they're saying is, even if you break into the top 3% of most viewed channels, you could bring an advertising revenue of about $16,800 a year. Okay, so that's like pretty much a little over the US federal poverty line of $12,140 for a single person. And so obviously that is not good news. And the simple fact that they're also talking about the top 3%, basically the big YouTubers with millions of views, and they're referring to people like Jake Paul, PewDiePie, Zoella, and there's other people like Superwoman. Those are really the minority. They're probably not even the top 3%. They're probably like the top 0.5%, okay? And so in this case, I would say there's definitely some fact to that. I mean, if you are actually a content creator, and I'm going to really preface this, if you are a content creator on YouTube and you are expecting to make a lot of money quickly, then yeah, maybe you should not take that ambition and dream to heart, because it's not going to happen the way in which you think it is, okay? And I have talked about this before, where YouTube, it is not a job. It's a business, okay? So this is more like a business. You know, most businesses do fail within the first 5 years. And so this is effectively what you're doing when you are choosing to become a content creator on YouTube or on any other platform. It's a business, and so it is definitely going to be challenging for you to actually make a living out of it. But one thing I do want to point out though is that this right here, I definitely don't think that should be the answer for a lot of people thinking of YouTube. I do think that there should be a more realistic answer in terms of, like, if you expect to do YouTube and make money right away and use that as your main source of living quickly, then you should definitely look at alternatives. You should definitely think that over. So basically, don't quit your job. You know, decide, you know, still go and get some skills, whether it's a degree, or learn some stuff that will actually make you money outside of just YouTube itself. That's something that I always really feel everybody who is a content creator should do. And another thing that from their research, they're specifically talking about making money off advertising. Okay, and this is something that I have also talked a lot about before, where in order for you to make money on YouTube or any other platform, I don't really think you should rely heavily on advertising, because it's very little money, and that's something that you can't really control. Okay, and so what they're saying here is I can't dispute these things, because if you are trying to make a living solely off of the advertising that is available on YouTube, then yeah, you're probably gonna be in it for a long time, and you're probably better, better off doing other things that make more money, okay, quickly, okay, because it is a business and it's gonna take you quite a while for the most part for people to make money. And the majority of people who are on YouTube, they are, people who are not people who are business people. They're just normal people, okay? And so for people who do have a business background, they could definitely ramp up on YouTube or any other platform and make money a lot quicker, okay? So from this, it is controversial, especially if you are a content creator, but at the same time, there is definitely some truth to it. Now, with that being said, why is this really happening? Why do we hear so many things, or things in the news that really bash the whole idea of being a YouTube content creator, or just being a content creator in general? Well, my personal feeling is because a lot of these companies who actually, or most of the mass media who put this out, they're actually owned by older companies, older mass media, older telecom companies, okay? And so this is my own thoughts on this. And so if you remember the whole net neutrality thing that happened just recently, where it was repealed, if you actually look at the companies who actually back net neutrality, okay, they were actually pretty much all internet-based technology companies, okay? If you look here, the majority of people who were against it were companies like Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, Netflix, Reddit, Google was on there, Vimeo. So these are all tech companies. But then if you look at the companies that actually support this repeal, it's actually all the older media companies, all the old telecom companies such as AT&T, Verizon, US Telecom, and so forth. And then, the whole idea of this whole controversy and also this whole political thing was actually like, well, if you repeal it, then it's really going to hurt small businesses, okay? People who are trying to come up. And although there is some truth in that, really what it was about, in my opinion, is the fact that these older mass media telecom companies are really, really scared of the new internet-based technology companies, because all these internet-based technology companies are taking their attention and, most importantly, business away from these older established telecom mass media companies. And let me show you what I mean by that. And I'll be checking this every now and then to see if anybody joins. And so let's go ahead and look at the actual stock prices and valuation of all these companies. So Fox, which is owned by 20th Century Fox, its market cap is $69.58 billion. And then if you look at a company like Time Warner, its market cap is $74.29 billion. And then if you look at one of the bigger ones, Verizon, its market cap is $199.93 billion. So let's just say $200 billion. Comcast, $172 billion. Charter Communications, $81 billion. And AT&T, $227 billion. And so all of these companies, they are not only telecom companies, but they do also own a lot of the mass media outlets, news outlets that you actually see. That's why I refer to such companies such as Fox, CNN, Time Warner, and all these other ones, because a lot of the news that you see is actually owned by these older telecom or mass media companies. But then, now that you see the valuation, and by looking at here, the highest valuation out of these looks like it's going to be AT&T, with almost 230 billion, almost. It's 227 billion. But now let's look at the internet companies, the technology companies, which have not been around as long as these older established mass media telecom companies. Netflix, they're worth $143.83 billion. Amazon, they're worth $764 billion. Google, $805 billion. Microsoft, $743 billion. Facebook, $538 billion. And so if you just look at that, these tech companies, which once again have not been around for a long time, for a lot of cases, they're like 3 times, almost 4 times, and in some cases almost 5 times larger than any of these old telecom mass media companies. And so that is something that definitely is scary for these older companies, because, if this keeps going, in which it's continually going, they might go out of business. Okay, so that's why, in my opinion, they're fighting so hard to do things such as this net neutrality repeal, because they know that the consumers are no longer going to them for not only their news but also their entertainment, and all of their extra money is going to these other companies. Okay, and so in the new economy, it's all about gaining attention. And the fact of the matter is, the attention is not going to these old media companies with their television shows, with their magazines, with their newspapers. All of it is going here to these technology companies who are not only able to move a lot quicker because they are on the internet, but also at the same time, they are able to offer consumers what they really want. Okay, and just remember, a lot of these older established mass media companies, they're also owners of big movie companies as well. And so with companies like Netflix and Amazon encroaching in on their territory, it gets more and more difficult for these other older companies to compete. Okay, and then when you also think about other companies like Apple, okay, which have not yet gotten into the whole content creation media stage. They are planning that with their Apple TV service. Their market cap is $913 billion, the highest valuation out of all these tech companies. So you could easily see why these companies are scared, and why news articles like this, from most of the time, the mass media companies, that's normally where it's going to come from. Okay, and then if you think about, well, if that's the case, is this really valid? It is and it isn't. Okay, and the reason why I could say that is because I'm actually doing this myself. Being a content creator on YouTube is definitely not an easy thing. But because we are in a new age, there's actually definitely opportunities for you as a YouTube content creator. And let me show you what I mean by that. And so I'm going to go ahead and clear my history, okay? And so this is something that I think if you look at it from a business point of view, it's a lot different than if you just look at it from a consumer point of view. Okay, so let me go ahead and clear all this. I'll clear everything from all time. So let's clear all that data. Okay, let's make sure this is still running. Okay, and so, okay, I've already cleared my history. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go to YouTube. And let me show you why the whole idea of being a YouTube content creator, it's definitely still alive and well. And at the same time, you need to be on video. You need to be on YouTube if you want to do anything on the internet. And all websites in the future, all of them are going to be video based. And so it really makes sense for you to start learning these skills and establishing yourself now. And so the reason why I'm on YouTube right now is, let me show you why, even if you are starting out and you are a small YouTuber, that there's still opportunities if you are willing to put in the time to learn the skills needed. Because once again, this is a business. It does require a different set of skills. So a lot of times people think that the only way that you could actually make it on YouTube is two things. Number one, to have a lot of subscribers, and then number two, to have a lot of views, which is simply not the case, okay? Because YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, right behind Google. And what that means is you're gonna have to learn different skills. So let me show you some things. So I just put out a video this week, okay, on an OBS tutorial for Linux, okay? So I'm just typing in OBS Linux. And once again, I already cleared my history, as you saw. And if you look here, this is the very first page of results, right? And where is my video? Well, it's on the first page. It's right there. Okay, and so even though it's not at the top, just remember, I just put out this video this week, and look at the videos that I'm competing with. 18,000 views, 28,000 views. This one's not as many views, Geek, but he has 1.1K views, 709 views, 4.8K views, 1.5K views, 558 views, 1.8K views. This one's 269 views, 4.7K, and mine is 84 views. And I'm pretty sure some of these other channels with the views and stuff, they have more subscribers and definitely more views than I do, but yet I'm still able to show up on the first page. Even though I'm not at the top, just remember, this is a search engine, so just think of yourself going to Google and how hard it is to even show up on the first page. And as we go further in the whole YouTube life, it's going to be really hard for you to even show up on the first page, okay? So let's look at something else where I rank as well. If you type in Linux PC, okay, more than likely you're going to see my video there as well, okay? And so there it is, okay? And if I typed in Linux PC build, okay, which is even more long tail, I'm like number 2. That's in all of YouTube. Okay, so the one right above me is 221,000 views, and mine has 22,000 views. But once again, it is not the number of views, and it's not the number of subscribers that is really the most important thing that's going to push you up, even though it is important. But I just showed you that with my other video, I only had 80 something views. It just barely came out this week. I don't have a lot of subscribers. And this one right here, you know, I'm second only to something like a Tech Syndicate, okay? And I'm above things like Linus Tech Tips with 2.5 million views, even though this is not specifically Linux PC. But you can see there, and then you see some of my other videos as well. And how was I able to do all this? Well, it's because you have to learn these other skills. I could do SEO. You know, I know how to do the marketing end of it, the digital marketing end. But these are skills that I actually had to develop. And then over time, my videos is actually going to rank even higher because of all that work that I did underneath. Okay. And so, hey, good morning, Lance. Thank you for joining. And so the reason I wanted to show you that is because and I talk about this a lot, and I will continue talking about this, is I really feel that being a content creator is super important. Not only if you just want to be on YouTube, but also the fact that it does so many things for you, okay? And you're able to really help a lot of people around the world if that is what you want to do, whether it be through education, through entertaining, whatever the case might be. And whenever people see articles like this, and they don't really understand how things work behind the scenes, or they've never been a content creator, it might cause them to not even get started, you know? And if you're reading headlines like "Crush That Ambition Now," I definitely do not think that is a good message to send to people who are thinking about being a content creator. But because the internet has changed everything, because these older mass media telecom companies no longer have control, and they are definitely not going to go backwards in time, because there's no way things are going to go backwards now. Things are going to continually keep going forward. Okay, so you know, it won't be long before these companies will be replaced by these companies who are going to be providing the same type of services they are. So right now we're familiar with companies like Netflix and Amazon providing entertainment services, but companies like Google with their Google Fiber service is actually competing and replacing some companies like Verizon, Comcast, Charter, AT&T for their internet services. And so yeah, so it is an opportunity. It's still going to be an opportunity, and it will continue to be an opportunity. And if you start early, start building up the skills now to actually build up your content creation skills, to learn how to do things such as SEO, to do things such as digital marketing, this will really serve you in the long run, because you are actually learning how to build a business. You know, you're learning how to build a brand. And so, you know, whenever you read articles like this, you know, just kind of take a grain of salt with that, and you know, evaluate whether or not that makes sense to you. Okay, but for me, if you want to be a content creator, just do it. You know, go out and do it, give it a shot, because honestly, YouTube is right now, it's free. I mean, there's no reason for you not to try it. Okay, I would just go ahead and try it. And then, so then, you know, the more content that we create, then the less control these other companies have, okay, these older companies, okay? But I already feel like they're pretty much lost control anyway, because they are not providing the type of service and entertainment or education that these other companies, the newer tech companies, are doing a much better job. Now, I'm not going to be ignorant and think like the older telecom companies are not trying to get on YouTube, because they are. If you look here, Jimmy Kimmel, Tonight Show, all these things, guess what? Most of these are these older telecom companies. But at the same time, there's like millions and millions of other videos on there that aren't things such as The Ellen Show or Saturday Night Live or any of that other stuff. So there's still a ton of opportunities for new YouTube content creators to actually make it on YouTube. And I will go back to the one thing. So if you are going to be doing a content creator, I will leave a video up there somewhere where I talk about YouTube is not a job. I definitely would not, you know, depend purely on ads, okay, right here, to make your money. You know, whether it would be on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever other platform that you're on. You know, just think about it from a business point of view, and try to definitely have some other sources of income besides YouTube advertising, okay? Because this is definitely not enough. And I think for a content creator who is new, if you're doing this just for the money through ads, you're not going to last long, you know, because it's, like I said, it's pretty difficult to make money just off of ads alone, okay? And so let's go ahead and get into the second piece of news. And this also will have some controversy as well, and that is Kali Linux. Kali Linux is actually going to be on the Windows Store. Actually, it's already there. And so it's kind of funny, if you actually go to the Kali Linux main page, you see that Kali Linux is in the Windows App Store. And at first when you read this, you're like, whoa, is this a joke? Why are they actually on the Windows App Store? Well, for the same reason that all the other versions of Linux, I think a few months ago, obviously Ubuntu was the first one. And then after that, they, I don't think Arch was on there, but they had some other distros, like I think it was OpenSUSE was on there, and Fedora. They're actually available in the Windows App Store. And actually, if you go to the Windows App Store right now, there is Kali Linux. And so there's OpenSUSE right there in SUSE. Okay, so I think a lot of people who are really diehard Linux users, they'll probably not be happy with the way things are going when it comes to Microsoft coming into the whole open source community, specifically within Linux. Okay, but I have said this before, but the whole world, it needs both open source and proprietary. And honestly, that's how the real world works, you know. And I know some people, they're really diehard open source fans, and they're either open source or proprietary or nothing at all. Okay, and unfortunately, like I said, that's not how the real world works. It's not a zero-sum game, because even if you go to the Linux Foundation, and I have mentioned this before, if you look at their partners, right? I mean, their partners are a variety of companies. You know, most of it are big companies. Okay, so you have your proprietary companies, which most are, and then you also have some open source companies as well. But the reality is, in order for you to have all these things running, okay, you need to obviously make money, and you need to have a business plan behind it. Okay, so that's why open source companies who do Linux, like Red Hat Linux or Ubuntu, that's why they're able to thrive and survive in this new world. And in this new world, you're going to see more partnerships where Microsoft is working with a Linux vendor, okay? Or if it's not Microsoft, you know, obviously companies like Google and Facebook already work with Linux vendors. Or maybe later on, even with Apple. I know Apple, they do open source stuff as well, even though it's not publicly announced. And so there is a lot of things that have changed in the whole open source community, specifically with the Linux community. And, you know, there's going to be positives and negatives to this, okay? Because in one case, you could look at it from a purely negative point of view where, oh, man, you know, Microsoft's coming in here. They're in the whole Linux community. Now they're going to start forcing their policies on there. And that's something that could definitely happen. And it's no mistake that they are in there. They're in there for a reason, because obviously early on in Linux life, they did try to destroy Linux, okay? And Steve Ballmer was pretty much the main person trying to do that. But when they realized that they couldn't do anything about it, guess what happened? Instead of trying to fight Linux, instead, being a smart business, what they did was, let us figure out ways that we can leverage Linux in order to help our business grow, okay? And then for smart companies who are in Linux, they are able to leverage it on their end and say, well, how can we use these bigger companies, these proprietary companies, to help fund the things that we're doing? So that's why, you know, like I said, companies like Red Hat or Ubuntu, they are the most successful open source Linux-based companies for a reason, okay? Because they know that in order for you to have success for the long term, you're going to need to work with other companies. You know, you're going to need to work with other communities, okay? So for Red Hat, they definitely work with proprietary companies for sure, because they provide their services to any companies, businesses, or individuals that might need these Linux services. The same thing goes for Ubuntu, because I think a lot of people know that the Ubuntu web services, their services, they're actually used by Amazon. You know, they're used by AWS or Amazon Web Services. They all, most of it runs on Ubuntu web servers. And so this is something that is going to continue to grow in time. And I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future, but my prediction is you will see more influence from companies like Microsoft, like Google, like Facebook, like Amazon, like Apple, you know. And, you know, I don't agree with everything that they're doing, okay? But at the same time, in order for these companies to survive and to thrive, it's a necessity. Okay, and so that's why whenever I do talk about Linux, I do really see it as a tool. You know, I do really see it as a platform for people, whether they're proprietary or open source, for people to develop things, to create things, you know, to actually work in partnership with many other companies. And since Linux, it is still open source, I mean, hopefully that will never change. You still have the ability to actually make Linux your own. You know, you still have the ability to do things the way that you want, okay? But obviously, as time goes on, it might be more challenging, okay? Because a lot of us do spend our time on the internet. A lot of us do use services that are actually run by these companies behind the scenes. So it would definitely be challenging, and it would definitely be different. But on the other side, I really think this is a positive thing, at least for Linux vendors as well, because even though it is going to be on the Windows platform, okay, it still will allow people to actually be exposed to these Linux distros where they might have not have ever tried it before if they were strictly on Windows, and that the whole idea of moving over to another platform, especially one that is not mainstream for desktops, is kind of scary. Okay, so I could see an opportunity here for Linux vendors like Kali Linux, OpenSUSE, Fedora, Ubuntu, and hopefully even Linux Mint, if they were actually to all show up and keep growing on the Microsoft Windows Store, that maybe that might be an opportunity for more people to actually want to move over to Linux full time. Okay, and so that is let me see if there's anybody else on. So Lance, I've never tried Kali, but then again, I'm not Mr. Robot, LOL. And so you know, this is going to be a shorter episode, and Lance, I definitely do want to thank you for joining. Normally we do have more people than this, and normally what I do on my episodes is I definitely try to focus on talking about the subjects that I have. In this case, I wanted to talk about this whole article. And then secondly, talk about Kali Linux. And usually whenever we have these live episodes and we have more people, we normally get into other types of discussions. So this is a episode that's going to be shorter. And, you know, overall, I really think all of these things that are happening. Oh, good morning, Lycone. Lance is saying, do you plan on doing any hangouts? Oh, hey, good morning, Carlos Enrique. Hey, thanks for joining, y'all. I was about to say, it's me and Lance is going to have this conversation on our own today. Are you? What are you specifically asking, Lance? Like, are you talking about like Google Hangouts, or I guess? Are you talking about Google Hangouts? I don't plan at this point, and I think Gaza Imp asked me that before, whether or not I was going to do like Google Hangouts with a specific smaller group of subscribers, and I don't have any plans of doing that right now. And I think I mentioned to Gaza last time, because it does take time, and there are a lot of things that I do, and so that's why typically you only see me do one live episode per week, you know. And yeah, and so maybe what I do, Lance, I have been thinking about that, because like I said, my live episodes, like what I do right this week, it's probably the best place for me, because right now, you know, I don't have a huge audience, okay? And so this way, you know, we could have interactions right away. And so maybe we could start today if you'd like. You know, maybe for some live episodes, I will basically do kind of a Q&A, because I really like to get a lot of ideas from you, the people who actually watch my videos. And a lot of my ideas that I get, especially when it comes to Linux, I get a lot of those ideas from all of you who actually do spend a lot of time in the Linux community. And, you know, you're actually in it. So I think you have a better perspective. I mean, and honestly, you know, whenever we do have these live discussions, most of the times you're asking me questions anyway. And so, I mean, obviously I can't answer all of them. You know, it really depends on the question. But, you know, even right now, if you had any questions, you know, feel free to ask me. Okay, and now that there are some other people that are actually on the live chat as well, you know, I'll be more than happy to answer some of the questions. I mean, like I said, I probably won't answer all questions, but it really depends on the questions that you had. Okay, but most of the times, you know, whenever we talk about these things, I get a lot of feedback from y'all, and then the conversations kind of go on from there. And so let me ask you this, Lance, like, since we are in a live discussion right now, like, what what were some type of questions that you had? I mean, you know, like, so I'm trying to see what the difference would be versus having a own separate Google Hangout. Okay, so you can leave that there as well, or anybody else who is on here, they could ask a question, because there's not as many people here on the chat today. And honestly, I didn't have too many topics. You know, what I'm trying to do, Lance and Carlos and Lycone, I haven't mentioned this on another episode. I'm trying to change the format of my YouTube channel. If you've noticed that I don't have that many video game stuff. I rarely have that stuff, and I don't have my movie stuff as well. Like every now and then I might talk about those two things on this channel, but I actually have moved all of that content over to my two new channels. I'll leave a link there in the description or a card up there somewhere. I have my Go Movies channel and my Go Gaming channels. And so what that means is, that means there's more opportunities for me to do different content here. And for here, I really want to focus on the things that, three main things on this channel. I want to focus on, obviously, Linux, okay? But as I said before, I'm not a Linux channel, okay? But I do love Linux, so I love talking about it. And secondly, content creation, and marketing. Okay, so those are the three things that I really enjoy. And then also at the same time, I'm a geek, and so I like what's going on in the geek world, so geek tech news. Okay, and so Lycone is asking, do you trust cloud services? Well, Lycone, I do and I don't. Okay, because all of us are using cloud services anyway, because a lot of our stuff is online. You know, either, your email, it's all online. A lot of people store their videos, pictures up in here, you know. So for me, Lycone, for me, I do use cloud services, okay? But I do not trust cloud services to put really sensitive private information, okay? That's me, okay? All of that stuff I have on my computer, okay? I do not put any of that on the cloud, because, you know, security is a very difficult thing, you know? And companies get hacked all the time. And so, you know, whenever companies get hacked, most of the times, you as the consumer or the user is the one who ends up paying for it, okay? And so my personal opinion is, for anything online, and I don't, you know, it doesn't matter if it's cloud or your email or, you know, your social media. For me, if it's private and you don't want that to be exposed online, even if it's secure, don't put it on the internet. That's my overall views on that. If it's private to you, do not put it on the internet, because I myself, I do not trust not only the security, because any security can be hacked. And then the second thing is that if it does get compromised, or they might lose your data, that's it. You know, they are not responsible for it in that way. Okay, so that's my opinion. Lance, you talk a lot about marketing. Do you do affordable marketing, SEO, for small web-based businesses? Well, Lance, I do. I do have clients that I do digital marketing for. So I do SEM, I do PPC, I do YouTube SEO and stuff. So that is a service that I do provide, but it really depends on what you need. And so, Lance, if that is something that you are interested in, you know, feel free to go to my website at geekoutdoors.com. And you could email me there. I have an email form, and I will get back to you if that's something that you're interested in. Okay. And thank you so much for asking, Lance. That is not a service that I really promote at this point. Okay, because once again, I do work on a lot of different things, and I do focus on small businesses at this point, Lance. And so that's perfect. And if I'm not mistaken, Lance, I think you do have a small business as well, okay? And so, yeah, please hit me up, you know, or if you don't want to go to my website, there is a messaging option. I think in YouTube, you can message me directly, but it's best if you just go to my website and use my contact form. But yeah, I do that. So Carlos Henrique is saying, I encrypt all my files before sending to the cloud for backup. Yeah, Carlos, a lot of people do that. They'll use PGP, or open... I'm sorry, they'll use open encryption tools, and I can't remember the name, but it's probably the same thing, open PGP. And so they'll encrypt it before they put it on the cloud. So that is another way, okay? Hey, good morning, Daniel Oto. Thanks for joining. Daniel is asking, I have a question about OpenShot. OpenShot in Windows has gotten very slow. Do you have any suggestions seems to work on Linux, but extremely slow on Windows. Let me bring this down. Let me see if this looks okay. Okay, that looks okay. And so, so Daniel, I will be honest with you. If you actually look at my, OpenShot series, all of my OpenShot stuff, I do it on Linux. Okay, because I do not run Windows as my main operating system. However, I do have Windows in a virtual machine. That is actually how I use Windows. Okay, and so I know that a lot of people who watch my OpenShot videos, they're also Windows users as well, and some Apple users. And a lot of times when people have questions about OpenShot on Windows, normally I can't answer them because I don't use it on Windows. And obviously I can install it in Windows here, but once again, that's not where my time is spent. And so yeah, Daniel, my apologies on that. That's really not something that I do because OpenShot, because I think even KDE, KDE, that's available on other platforms as well. I'm pretty sure of it. And so but they were specifically designed and optimized to work best on Linux. And so yeah, I really can't answer that one. And you know, if you're on Windows, if you are not already using Linux, but it seems like you already are, yeah, you understand that there are some performance issues. But I really don't think that it's because it's Windows. I just think the fact that both OpenShot and Kdenlive were actually optimized to work within Linux. Okay, and so and with OpenShot, you know, since we are talking about OpenShot, if you haven't seen my OpenShot series, be sure to check that out. I think it is a great tool, especially for people who are brand new to video editing, because whenever I was on Windows, you know, this is a long time ago when Windows was my main operating system, I actually used Windows Movie Maker, and I thought that was pretty powerful, you know, to have a Windows Movie Maker there. But now, you know, whenever I moved over to Linux, Linux has so many amazing tools, and I still can't believe that they're free. I mean, it still blows my mind that all this stuff is free, and especially with something like Kdenlive. Kdenlive is the main video editor that I use. It is more advanced, and it could do a lot more things. But I think OpenShot, for me, I think my opinion is if you are new or even intermediate, I think OpenShot will be a lot easier for people to get used to and get started. But maybe later on, as time goes on, I might also do a series on Kdenlive as well, because I do absolutely love using this tool. And it seems like the newest versions of Kdenlive, they work so much better because before, if you've been a Linux user for a long time, Kdenlive was really buggy, you know, it crashed a lot, you know, but now it's gotten so much better. There are so many features. Lycone is asking, are you using Mint 18.3 Cinnamon? Yes, Lycone, and I get this question a lot now. Let me show you. Okay, I get this question pretty much almost every few days. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay. So the question that I get all the time, okay, so I don't know if you could see that, Lycone. I'm running Linux Mint 18.3 Sylvia. A lot of people ask me, hey, what Linux distro are you using? Well, why? Because my distro looks so different because of the theme that I use. Okay, I have different themes and icons, and I did do 2 videos on this. I'll put a link in the description, or I'll find a card as well. I have 2 different episodes where I talk about the themes and the icons that I use, so you could get it to look just like this. Okay, it'll look exactly like this. Okay, and so it's really awesome how you could change the way things look through Linux. Okay, Kdenlive, it comes in an app image, which makes it very easy to use on just about any distro. Yes, Lance, that's exactly what I did. I have the app image right there, and I think even if you go to the Kdenlive website right now, if you go to Kdenlive, I don't think you could get it any other way. I mean, before they would give you a PPA, but they're waiting for the newest version of Ubuntu to come out, And so I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, the only way you could get it is through Kdenlive. But if you already have the PPA, then that'll work as well. It says it is recommended you download the app image version first until the release of Ubuntu 18.04. Okay, so that's what I did. And so far, Kdenlive, this new version, I've been using these for a while now. It's awesome. I've had very few problems. I mean, and crashes, maybe it only happens once or twice a month, which is amazing, because even if you're using a very expensive software like Adobe Premiere, that crashes, okay? And so even Apple's Final Cut Pro. So video editors are very complex. So for it to crash only once or twice a month, I think that's pretty amazing. But at the same time, I don't do a lot of complex video editing, okay? So if you do a lot of complex video editing, you know, where you have a lot of different timelines, a lot of projects, a lot of clips, you know, it could probably definitely affect the stability of your video editor, okay? But those are the two that I use, OpenShot and Kdenlive, okay? I use both of those, okay? But Kdenlive is the one that I use the most, okay? Hey, Villain Millennium, good morning. Thanks for joining. Salam alaikum. All right. So Carlos Enrique, HitFilm is amazing free video editor for Windows, but I think they never go make a Linux version. Yeah, Carlos, in my opinion, if you are Linux, if you just have OpenShot and Kdenlive, that should be more than enough for the majority of people. But some people who are more advanced, then they'll probably want to do like things such as color grading. And so I think, I can't remember the name of it, but there is a video editor that is way more advanced. Let me see what it is. So I think I can't remember the name right now. Let me see if I could find it. Color grading video editors. And this is available on Linux as well. There's actually two other video editors that are available. Yeah, DaVinci Resolve is one of them. Okay. And then there's also, let me see. And I have downloaded DaVinci Resolve as well, but you could download the quote-unquote free version, or you could get the commercial version. Okay, so this is more for professionals. You could definitely download a Linux version. So there's Linux, and also there is what's it? Light Magic, I think. Is that the name? Let me see. Oh no, wait, that's not it. There is another video editor. Video editor. Is it Light Studio? Can't remember the name of it. Yeah, Lightworks. Okay, so Lightworks is also another pro video editor, and this is also available on Linux as well, as you can see right there. And so, okay, so man, thanks all of you for joining. Wow, that's. Okay, so VM is saying, fine, enjoying a slightly windy weather. It's 120 kilometers right now. Oh, yes, that's pretty cold. Let me see. VM, okay, great. VM, all right. Like Conan is saying, sometimes I don't know why I delete the message. That's funny. VM is saying Kdenlive, yikes. I love Kdenlive, VM. I really do. Lycone, bye. I have to do something. Thank you, Lycone, for joining. Hey, good morning, Shatter. Thanks for joining. VM is saying, why would you use that when you have Lightworks and DaVinci? Well, VM, because I think these right here, they're like more pro tools. And if you want all the features, you do have to pay for it. Okay? And so, like for me, I don't mind paying for software. I gladly pay for software. Okay, but for me, for my needs, both OpenShot and especially Kdenlive, it's more than enough for me at this point for doing video editing. Okay, I am not a pro video editor, and if you watch a lot of my videos, I don't do a lot when it comes to video editing. I could, but I spend most of my time on creating the content. I do not spend a lot of time on the production value, because for me, what's most important is delivering content to people, okay? Delivering the right content to my audience like yourself, okay? So maybe later on, when I have more time and as my skills get better, you will definitely probably see higher production quality off of my videos. But at this point, my main focus is creating content and getting better at creating content, okay? But DaVinci Resolve, yes, more than likely, later on, as I get better, I might migrate to something like DaVinci Resolve, you know, especially when I get better equipment. And once again, when my skills get better, we'll definitely be doing more color grading stuff, you know, more color correction. And DaVinci Resolve is probably the best to do that, okay? Especially since, you know, these are really your only pro options in Linux. It's either DaVinci Resolve or Lightworks. You know, the other stuff, Adobe, they're not available. So VM is asking, well, if you want the ultimate, most absolute best, you have to pay for Resolve. Like if you want to make 8K videos on 60 frames per second. Yeah, VM, I definitely agree. So later on, like I said, as my skills get better, as my equipment gets better, I will have to move to something like this, okay? But I think even right now, both OpenShot and Kdenlive, they can do 4K. But you know, that's like way off for me, and most people don't even have a 4K TV anyway. And so yeah, later on, you'll see over time, VM, and as for people like Lance, Shatter, who have been here a while, they've probably definitely seen my videos in my progression, okay? If you look at my older videos, they were pretty bad. You know, the quality was bad, and the worst thing was when I started early on, my audio, I was outside a lot, and I definitely still do outside videos. That's normally where I think it's the most important thing, is having really good audio, okay? Your picture quality, your phone is more than enough for most people, okay? I mean, I think the picture quality, the video quality out of phones are amazing. And so I really focus on first having good audio, and then secondly, I focus on the video, and then third, I will focus on production quality, better video editing. So that would be later on. Yeah, so VM is saying, but the free version is anything you can use for a person that makes videos for YouTube. Yeah, VM, it does have a lot of things, but like I said, you know, right now, Kdenlive and OpenShot works well enough for me. And if I do move to something like a DaVinci Resolve, then there's going to be a learning curve there, and then I have to learn and use a new tool. So maybe later on, okay? But like for myself, I really want to get a lot better at Kdenlive. That's where I want to focus the majority of my attention, you know? And at the same time, when I get better at things like Kdenlive or OpenShot, well, that means I could teach more people who are getting into Linux. Okay, and I think most people who are getting into Linux, they're not like pro video editors. They're not, you know, so most people want a good solution right away. And the best solutions for new people who are Linux is OpenShot and Kdenlive. And so that's another reason why I want to stick on these tools. I want to master them, especially Kdenlive, okay? Because you could do some amazing things in Kdenlive. And the thing is, when you build up those skills, you can apply those same skills to other video editors, because you know, the whole thing of editing videos, the basics are pretty much the same. It doesn't matter what video editor that you're on, okay? The basics are the same. So not to mention that doesn't crash every 5 seconds. Yeah, I think you're referring to Kdenlive crashing a lot. Yeah, okay, new version, okay. And so let me see. I think Lance had another question. Let me see. Okay, OpenShot. Okay. I do want to go back to something, because Lance earlier talked about marketing services, okay? Because I do talk a lot about marketing, and I have mentioned this many times before. That's what I do. I do digital marketing. I do SEM, I do PPC, and SEO. The SEO part that I focus on is YouTube SEO. That's why I showed you that earlier, where I'm able to rank pretty much on the first page of Google, right there, second result. And, you know, I'm right behind, you know, like websites with 221,000 views, and they're much bigger than my channel, okay? Because if you learn SEO, you learn digital marketing, you learn how search engines work, you learn keyword research, that will probably be the most important skill that you learn, because that applies to absolutely every single platform that you're on. Facebook, Twitter, it doesn't matter. All of their artificial intelligence, all of them use these same technologies or same keywords, type tools, same type of SEO stuff all underneath. Okay, and so if you've never done any type of you know, SEO, you've never done PPC, SEM stuff, then this might not make sense to you. But the reason why I wanted to show you this is, if you are going to be a content creator, you need to learn these skills, because if you don't, then it'll be way harder for you to make it on YouTube. Because just look at where I'm at. I'm like right there behind something like this. or even the example I showed you earlier where I just barely put out a video with only 84 views and I'm already on the first page. Or even if I do something like this, okay, there's my video. I'm ranked number 2 in all of YouTube, okay? And there are, like, look at this. I mean, I'll rank somebody with 128,000 views, okay? And so, so that's why whenever I do these YouTube videos, you know, I don't really focus a lot of my attention, although it is important. I don't really focus a lot of my attention on the number of subscribers or the number of views, because I know that's not the main things that these search engines care about. What these main search engines care about is the content. They care about your SEO underneath, specifically keyword. They look at things like your keyword density on your content. They look at keyword relevance. You know, is the search that you're doing, is it relevant to the video or the content that you're providing? And if you do PPC, like I said, PPC, SEM, that is extremely important. And companies like Google and Facebook and all of these ad platforms, they're going to make that even harder for people. Okay, so if you do not provide content that is relevant, that is searchable, it's going to be very hard for you to make it on the internet. Okay, so that's why if you look at my channel, I do talk a lot more about marketing now and content creation, because now I can do that. Okay, whereas before I was doing all my other content. Okay, but now you're going to see more and more every week. It should be every week. You're going to see more videos in digital marketing. I have a playlist for that, but I'm also going to be showing you other things besides digital marketing. I'm going to be talking about websites because I build websites as well. I mean, I'm not an expert at it, but I know my way around a website. I'm going to show you other tools that you could use on the internet. And so all of these things, they're all related to being a content creator and doing the marketing behind it, because those two skills, or it's not just two skills, but those two categories, they are relevant on any platform. Okay, and so these are very, very important skills. And at the same time, you could use these same skills and make money. You know, I mean, that's what I do. And so you can use these skills to either get a job or you can use it to freelance. So, or start your own business. And so I use the skills that I've learned, that I've developed for all of those things. Okay, and so that's why I talk about it so much, because I really feel, and I have said this before, geeks, we have an advantage, you know, above many other people, because we are already technically minded, and so that means for us to pick up these skills, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's not quite as hard. Okay, and so Carlos Enrique, you think interactions like comments are one of the reasons for good indexing on YouTube? Yes, it is, Carlos. But it's not the most important thing anymore, okay? Because Google has changed their algorithms, and so has Facebook, and all these other platforms. They change their algorithms all the time. But what I'm telling you, this is global, okay? This affects every platform, okay? And so what's more important than the comments and interaction is your SEO and your relevance. That's way more important. That's why I wanted to show you this example. Okay, I don't have a lot of subscribers. I mean, look at my number of views: 32,000 versus 94,000 versus 128,000. How am I able to outrank them? And this is all of YouTube. This is not even just in the US. Okay, just look that up. You know, I'm like number 2 in all of YouTube. Type in that keyword in your YouTube browser if you want. Okay, so I was able to do that because I do keyword research, because I do SEO underneath, because I have my description here with a keyword right there. Okay, and so so before, comments and interactions were very important to YouTube. They would use that as a really huge part of their algorithm. But then people would game the system, right? People would just get they would talk about something controversial, and then they would get a lot of comments, right? A lot of views, and guess what? Their video got pushed up higher, or they would use clickbait, okay? But now those things are not going to work in the future. And I know this because I do the stuff behind the scenes. So if you do ads, right? You do Google AdWords and Facebook. That's not what they care about. I mean, it is important. Let's not belittle that. Having interaction is important, but it's not the most important thing. The thing that Google, Facebook, Twitter, all of these, Snapchat, what they look for, keywords that are relevant to the searches or whatever people are looking for. Okay, and that's not going to change. It's not going to change for a very long time. And if anything, it's going to be even more difficult for you to rank if you do not have things that are relevant. Because black hat SEO forums, yeah, Carlos, and things have changed, Carlos. I think you understand a little bit of how this ranking stuff worked. Okay, so back in the day, whenever all of these platforms still develop, Google is the top dog. Okay, but back in the day, they would use black hat SEO techniques. Like, for example, if you wanted your website to actually rank higher, okay, bots, they don't really work as well anymore, VM, because the AI has gotten a lot better. Okay, they can detect bots a lot better now. So back in the day, let me give you an example of how people would rank on websites, okay, on Google AdWords, okay. How they would rank is they would use a process called keyword stuffing. So they would stuff a whole bunch of the same keywords throughout their content, and they would build some website which really doesn't have any relevance, doesn't have a lot of value, but they would put that keyword in it so much that it would actually rank higher in Google when people are doing searches. And then they would put links, advertising. That's how they would make a lot of money. But then whenever Google rolled out, if I remember, it was their Panda update, or maybe it's their Penguin update, it completely eliminated that. So those websites no longer ranked. And another thing that you could do, if you want to do black hat SEO, is you could do something like Pbn Links. So these are private blog networks. Shacher, thanks for joining. Thank you so much. So PBNs are private blog networks where basically you would pay somebody, or you could do it yourself, to where they would put your a link to your website on all these other websites which has higher page authority or page rankings. And so that would improve your rankings because you would get juice out of all these other websites. But that has also been eliminated as well, pretty much. Okay, so it's getting harder and harder and harder for people to game the system. Okay, and so now it's more and more important that you create content, whatever it is, whether it's video, whether it's a written blog, whether it's audio. It's really more important that, number one, the content that you create is relevant to what people are searching. And then number two, you need to do SEO, and you need to do the keyword research, which is part of SEO. And later on, more and more people are going to have to do PPC, SEM. They're going to have to do paid traffic to get attention to their content or website. So it is extremely important, and that's why I talk about these things now, because like maybe a decade from now, maybe sooner, everybody's going to be working on the internet, whether it's a job, whether it's a business, or whether it's both. And if you do not have these skills now, develop it now, it's going to be hard for you to make it later on. You're not going to be able to find jobs, or it's very difficult for you, because in the future, college degrees will not matter. Okay, what matters is the skills and also the work. You have to show people that you've done this work. And so if you start developing this now, and especially if you start building your own brand, like what I'm doing with YouTube with Geek Outdoors, I'm building my brand, and I have talked about this before. This is brand marketing, and the most important thing is you, the audience. I'm building an audience of people who actually like what I have, who actually have similar thoughts, because that's important. You need to build an audience that really does like what you have. And so with that, you have to build a relationship with people. Okay, and that is another important thing. It's actually probably the most important thing, because you're doing all of this so that you could build an audience. And then your audience could also become your customers as well. Okay, because it takes a long time for you to establish a relationship, because when you're building this, you're building a business, you have to offer something people valuable. And in return, the people who really like what you do, they will also offer you value in return. And so, anyways, look forward to more of these videos on my websites, okay, because and on my YouTube channel. And later on, I will be providing my own products and services. And so you'll see that in the future as well. But the whole point of it is, if you like my channel, it's really about content creators. Let me go back to my channel here. And so, if you go to my YouTube channel, I really have changed where my focus is. But this is something that I've always done, okay? So my focus is these three things, okay? Actually, it's 4 things, but I'm a content creator, marketer, Linux lover, and geek, and I will always mention that. But this year, I'm really going to focus on these two things, okay? Meaning I'm going to put more content out, and I'm still going to do this. Thank you, Lance, for joining. And then, so for people who want to learn these skills, you're going to get a lot more of this, and I really feel it will be helpful, because whenever I started all this stuff myself, it was pretty difficult, because and I'm still learning. You're learning all the time. It's hard to find all this information, okay? And at the same time, there's a huge learning curve, and there's always going to be learning curve. And so if there's anything that I can do, like my own experience that I could show you, then I will. And then also if there's things that I could create, okay, obviously not everything I'm going to do, like with my product services, not all of it's going to be free. And so because I have to spend the time taking my experience to create this. And so later on, I will also have, like I said, I will also have paid courses and services that I will be providing as well. But if you look at my channel, I have more than 700, I actually have more than 800 videos on my channel. And so I do provide a lot of stuff for free, okay? And I do that because you need to provide value. And at the same time, I enjoy doing this. See, like right now, if you look at my channel, I have 844 videos, but not all of them are public. Like public, maybe I only have like 700 something videos, okay? And so it's been an hour, and so I'm gonna go ahead and close off this episode. But before I do that, as always, let me go ahead and thank everybody who was here, okay? First and foremost, Lance, thank you so much for joining. This has been a while since I only had one person join, but thank you for joining. And then secondly, Lycone Silver, I think you are a new person to the live discussion. Thank you so much for joining. Carlos Henrique, thank you so much, Carlos, for joining from Brazil. We have Daniel Oldhoot, and I think, Daniel, you're new as well. Thank you so much for joining the live discussion. Villain Millennion, VM, thanks for joining as always. Sab Zamusu, I think you are a new person as well. Thanks for joining. Shatter, as always, Shatter, regular, thank you so much for joining and adding to the conversation. And also, I just want to thank everybody who is watching right now or watching later on, because the most valuable asset that we have is our time. And so I really appreciate all of you spending your time here having this geeky discussion with us. Okay, so VM, thank you. Have a cold, nice and wet there. Thank you so much, y'all. So if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to subscribe. And if you wanted to support my channel further, you could do that at patreon.com/Geek Outdoors, and we'll see you on another live episode.